right, man. Oh, so audio good?
Yeah. Everything is all good. What's going on, everybody? JV wins, Dogon SS. We are here for another edition of the Conscious Approach video series on YouTube. Thank you to everybody who is tuning in. As you can see, I got the T-ball in hand, so I'm ready to duke it out. I am ready to duke it out, debate panel style. So we'll see how things go. Thank you to everybody who is tuning into the channel. As always, we would like to thank you in advance for supporting logical content. And if you appreciate the commentary in this or any other video that we publish to this channel, go ahead and do your boys a big old solid, hit that subscribe and like button. Or if you don't, all good, but enjoy the video nevertheless. So with that out of the way, we are going to go ahead and get started with something very interesting that we found on the interwebs this week. So famed relationship coach, counsel person, content creator, quote unquote, Kevin Samuels, in light of his death in the past year, has incurred a lot of interesting comments posthumously from people who, now that he is gone, want to validate the merit of what it is that he used to do. And, for anyone who is unaware, he wasn't necessarily a social scientist or anything like that. Kevin Samuels was just a polished content creator who made videos dissecting and analyzing modern relationship trends and habits and behaviors. And he would often highlight some of his points by bringing on guests to his show to kind of sort of illustrate some of the various points that he was trying to make. Various themes such as high value men became more proliferated due to his, as well as other content creators' contribution to this particular context. Tragically, he passed away last year, but that has not stopped people from going in on some of the merit of his commentary. And we have found a new example of that with this minister fellow. So this guy, whose name is Minister Yadan Yada, I'm hoping that I pronounced his name correctly. This is the latest person to kind of suggest that the rhetoric of Kevin Samuels needs to die for good, along with the man himself. So what we are going to do is we are going to play this video of his reasoning as to why Kevin Samuels needs to go away. Now, this guy claims that Kevin Samuels is responsible for destroying the black family dynamic. And you can see the title here in this clip that we are about to play. So essentially, he is saying Kevin Samuels needs to go away. He destroyed the black family dynamic. So that's pretty much all we need to do to set this one up. We'll go ahead and play the clip, and then we will opine afterwards.
It's time to bury the ghost of Kevin Samuels with Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels was a terrorist to the family dynamic, to the family structure. He was a terrorist. He convinced weak men to be weaker men. Any man that convinces a man that he's the prize and the woman isn't is your enemy. A good woman deserves everything on this earth and in the universe. She gives us children. She brings us peace, harmony, joy. She rubs our back. She turns our house into a home, our groceries into a meal. She nurtures our children. She nurtures us, even when we're in our ego and our pride. And you allow Kevin Samuels to ask your woman what she brings to the table. The woman is the table. But the majority of you men have,
oh my goodness,
on that table. You're deficient. You're financially deficient. You're emotionally deficient. You're spiritually deficient. And your masculinity is deficient. So if you want to pass like Kevin Samuels with multiple failed marriages, leaving a world where your children don't even respect you, of course follow him. But that man's ghost needs to be put in the grave where it belongs, because it's not beneficial to us as a whole. The woman needs to be uplifted. The woman needs to be loved. The woman needs to be nurtured, because that's what providers do until she's able to become whole herself. She's been broken. She doesn't trust us. She's been betrayed. She doesn't trust us. We don't protect her. She doesn't trust us. We don't provide for her. She doesn't trust us. But we have the audacity to listen to a man that had severe mommy issues. Man, allow Kevin Samuels' ghost to be buried with the body. And if you guys take this the wrong way or get what I'm saying, you're part of the problem. It's listen to Kevin Samuels because you suffer from daddy issues. There's nothing more greater than the woman. She's the first gift to man. She must be protected and provided for by all means necessary. And we have to understand who's a terrorist to the family dynamic. I love y'all. Peace.
Wow. Wow. Hey, you heard that, JV Wins? You're part of the problem, bro. Unless you disagree with him. I don't know.
The only thing that this guy was missing was a cape. That was the only thing that was missing from his wardrobe. There was just a cape.
Yeah,
but and yeah, the tone of the video with the post-apocalyptic vibe with the music also like, sheesh, bro, get over yourself. But yes, so there you go, ladies and gentlemen, in the Conscious Approach audience, there is a Minister Yadan Yada. Yadan Yada. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that. Need a phonetic spelling for that. So please forgive me if I pronounce that incorrectly. But yeah, he went in. He went in on Kevin Samuels. So he took it all kinds of ways with that. But what did you think about that?
Yeah, he was all over the map there. I guess some of it'll come back to me as we, go through the conversation. But I would just have to say that I get where he's coming from, but I think he's off base, right? I think he's off base. And I do know that there are men out there that watch Kevin Samuels content and hang on every word. I do know that. And I also know that those guys that hang on every word do fit the prototypical stereotype of incel. I will say that I know that. now that we've gotten that out of the way, that's the people he should be acknowledging. The people that hang on every word. We don't subscribe to hanging on every word here. Matter of fact, we say that all the time. We do not run a cult. So that means if you do agree with us, whether you agree with us 100% or 90%, there's still a part of it where you do have to take stuff with a grain of salt. Because if I am saying something that you 100% agree with and I could be wrong, then it's a thing where your confirmation bias is what led you to, agreeing with me. And just because you agree with me don't mean that's the ultimate fact. So, but there's facts in what I'm saying. So that's the grains of salt you should be taking. So with all of that being said, Kevin Samuels said a lot of things. There were things that I agree with, and there were things that I disagreed with. But out of the stuff that I would say, out of the majority of his content, I agree with most of it. He had his moments where it's like, all right, bro, but he also had to spice things up, make things extra messy for content and viewership. And by the way, he went from nothing to over 1 million because people wanted to watch entertainment plus some jewels. And I felt like he was providing that. And I feel like anybody that has such an aggressive stance towards Kevin Samuels didn't watch any of his content. And I can say that I was also guilty of feeling like how this guy felt, not with all of that other stuff that we'll talk about later. But there were parts where I would have been parroting those talking points, but that was before I watched his content. So this guy saying that he's a terrorist towards the family system is ridiculously ironic, because that's exactly what he was trying to fix. So this guy, he seems to be speaking from a place of ignorance. I would ask him to do some homework. And if he's so full of himself that he can't watch somebody that he disagrees with, then, you know, he can just have his ignorance then. But if the church tells you to not look into something, or anybody tells you not to look into something, I think you should look into that. And just because you looked into it don't mean you have to believe it. So if you don't agree with Kevin Samuels, I would say watch some of his content and then come back and talk to me. If you have watched it and disagreed, so be it. But this guy is speaking from a place of he didn't really watch it. And if he did, he didn't understand, because he's speaking from a standpoint of ignorance in my book. So how do you feel about this situation, man? Do you agree with Minister Yada Yada? Or do you agree that maybe he's a little bit off base?
Yeah, I think that this is extreme. I think that this is extremist rhetoric. I talk about extremist rhetoric on this channel a lot of times when we bring up certain topics. I think this is an example of that. Okay, so I agree with you that I think he is trying to speak to the audience of people, men in particular, who take Kevin Samuels as gospel.
Right.
But I don't think that's the majority of the population of men.
It is not.
The majority of the population of men understand how to utilize discretion,
right,
and take what parts of the commentary is reasonable and discard the parts of it that are not reasonable.
Exactly.
And that's why I don't really like what this guy is saying.
Mm-hmm.
Certain aspects of what he was saying are valid. There is an uptick of men lacking in masculinity. There is an uptick of men who are lacking in basic skills that they need to be able to bring to the table, such as being a stern provider and being able to uphold their end of the bargain financially. There's an uptick in the frequency of men who fit that build. But again, an uptick does not suggest prevalence, right? An uptick is not the majority. An uptick just means it's increasing. But if you listen to how vitriolic this guy is speaking, he makes it seem as though it's just all of these men lacking in all of these areas running around, not having what it takes, when it comes to being able to uphold their end of the bargain, but then want to blame women for all the problems in relationships. And I do not think that that's what is going on. So I kind of think that he's a bit off in that. And I'm inclined to agree as well that it sounds as though he's taking general talking points and viral clips to formulate the basis of his interpretation. And he's using that to sort of go out there and make videos like this, instead of actually digging into the crates and seeing what Kevin Samuels did on a daily basis. Because on a daily basis, what he was doing was bringing women onto his show and letting them speak for themselves. So men weren't creating the dynamic. It was women who were lending voice to it, Right. So it's like, be accurate with what it is that you're saying. And furthermore, he makes it seem as though Kevin Samuels pulled some sort of elaborate inception and created a situation in which women are to blame for the problems when it's really men. And that's where I would holler foul, because again, all Samuels used to do is bring women onto the show and ask them questions, open-ended. They weren't loaded questions. He didn't lead them. He just asked them open-ended questions. What does this guy need to do what does your guy need to do for a living? How tall does your guy need to be? How much money do you think your guy needs to make in order to be good enough for you? Goodness. He asked open questions. They weren't leading questions. They weren't loaded questions. And the women answered them honestly according to how they viewed the situation. So if a woman is saying, I need my guy to be this tall, or to make this much money, or to be able to do this or that, or be perfect, be Mr. Perfection, and then Kevin Samuels combats that by saying, see, that's why you're not married, that doesn't mean that Kevin Samuels destroyed the black family dynamic. Right. That was his way of saying your mentality has a lot to do with why the black family dynamic is deteriorating. So at times, was he leaning into being a bit woman bashing? Yeah. I mean, it ran a spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So at times it did venture into territories where it seemed as though he had a vendetta.
Mm-hmm.
But more often than not, he was letting the women speak for themselves. And that wasn't some sort of mind control. That wasn't some sort of Jedi mind trick that men created. And now women are just saying, this is what we want because men created this. No, women were answering the question honestly. This is what we want. So the question is, why is it that women want that? What created some of these preferential sets that have contributed to the deterioration of the Black family dynamic? In my opinion, it wasn't Kevin Samuels. I can assure you he didn't create that. You can go back historically and look at, certain social programs and entitlement programs that contributed to that. Like, there are certain societal things that contributed to why in the present we have women believing some of the things that they believe and then parroting that speech whenever they get asked a question by somebody like Kevin Samuels, who granted will then use their responses to make his overall point, which is it's deteriorating because of your mindset and mentality. But what this guy's kind of doing is saying Kevin Samuels created it. And he might have reinforced the logic by having these women on here to lend credence to the mentality, but he didn't create it. So I'll just think that this guy is using Kevin Samuels as a tool to curry favor with women.
Oh, absolutely.
As a lot of people in his position tend to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no surprise or coincidence that this guy is a member of the church, because when it comes to women, the church is almost like the second estate.
Mm-hmm.
For some women, it's the first estate. They look at the church and uphold it higher than their own husbands or the government, depending on how much money they're getting from the government, their employer, or whomever. So I think that this guy is trying to curry favor, and he's using Kevin Samuels as a bargaining chip to do so.
Yep.
Kevin Samuels didn't create any of these situations. And to suggest that, to me, is kind of irresponsible. And to do it in this way is extreme rhetoric. All this guy did was bring this woman onto his show and ask them questions, and they answered the questions. It's as simple as that.
100%, bro. And I'll say this in regards to him saying that, women are the prize and that women are the table. I mean, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was a soundboard of all of the stuff that gets these, moderns all hot and bothered, it's those catchphrases. And he's just hitting all the buttons. So yeah, he is playing to a certain audience. He wasn't talking to us, bro. He was talking to those women that he want to pay him. So yeah, you were 100% on that. And I'll say this, for this whole men are the prize, women are the prize. How about we're both the prize? How about that?
Yes. Yeah.
And so, I'll say this though, for Minister yada yada yada. And I'll say this. If in a situation, if a woman's not going to want to be with you unless she feel like she won. Now, if you won something, what did you win? A prize, maybe? So at this point, you can't sit here and say that she's the prize if she don't want somebody that she feels like is a loser. So she wants a winner, so she feels like a winner. Therefore, I think she just won a prize. Now, any man around here knows that if he found a woman, he found himself a good thing. That in itself is a prize. So why can't we look at it both ways? Why does it have to be one or the other? But these are the dangerous rhetoric talking points that are floating around on the internet where it has to be one polar side or the other polar side. It can never be balanced. And so people are choosing extremes instead of looking at everything in between. So for this whole situation here, I feel like this minister yada yada, he feels like a finesse lord. He feels like a scammer, allegedly. Look, I'm not defaming nobody. I'm just telling you what he looks like. And so for me, it looks like game. And yeah, like you said, he's using a very hot talking point as a bargaining chip, a dead man. so he can get some W's in his own personal life. So I feel like that's kind of weird. So have at it, Mr. Yada, and do your thing. But I do not agree, sir. I do not agree.
Yeah, neither do I. I think that he took it too far.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's trying to suggest that Samuels created this dynamic when he didn't. What is that word that you use to describe Umar Johnson? He's a grifter. This
Yes.
guy strikes me as a grifter.
Yes,
He
he does.
strikes me as the black family dynamic, if you will, relationship equivalent of a grifter, in the way that Umar Johnson is the Pan-African movement
Right.
grifter.
Right.
They're kind of the same thing. It wouldn't shock me if this guy had a cash app and he was often asking for donations and money.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
yeah, I don't like any of this. Samuels wasn't always in the right, but he definitely wasn't always in the wrong either. There's definitely a delicate balance that needs to be struck with that, and he's using him and the extreme aspect of Samuels as a way to curry favor with a certain demographic. And I just hope that people don't necessarily fall for it, even though there are and there will be. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's crazy. Mr. Yada Yada.
Minister Grifter.
For real. Yeah, that's a good name too. Minister Grifter. So Irv Gotti, man. Irv Gotti's now in his 50s, hip hop OG, back in his heyday in the 90s and 2000s with Murder Inc. He, often, well, not often, but every time I see Irv Gotti on any kind of show or podcast that he's on, women end up coming up in some capacity. And this is no different. This is actually the second time that Irv Gotti has appeared on Drink Champs. And in this particular instance, Irv Gotti was talking about the struggles that he experiences trying to find a woman or love, or however you want to describe what it is that he is looking for. But he's saying that at this age, I think what he's getting at is he desires to be younger women, but younger women are tricky because they're only after one thing. And he struggles with that because he doesn't want to do that. He wants to find something genuine. Even though he's 53 and these women are in some cases 20, 30 years younger than him, he doesn't want that to stop him. He wants to keep it moving with what he is seeking, but he is finding it difficult because younger women are always checking for something specific. So we will play this. We'll hear what Gotti has to say, and then we'll talk about what Gotti has to say.
Would love to have one with me 100%. I just don't think it's out there. For me, 26-year-old Dominican, gorgeous.
You out here with totones? Okay.
25,000.
She's a real one. Let's make some noise for her.
25,000. I was like, where did she get off asking me for 25,000? And then in the back of my head, I'm like, this is the tip of the iceberg.
100%.
If she's my girl, that she gonna ask, I need 100.
Hermes.
Get all of the family
Right.
to have some bad come around and just start siphoning it out. That's never happening, yo. So that's why I don't think it's in the cards for me. I don't know if I could find someone who I'm going to be attracted to that's like a nice, good person.
Right.
And
So you say you got your guard up all the time?
You have to.
Okay.
Back to school savings are red.
Oh boy.
It's amazing to see. Yeah. Nori and Cameron have the best hip hop podcast, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Nori with Drink Champs and then Cameron with It Is What It Is. Those two guys are entertaining as hell. They are, to me, far more engaging than people like Joe Budden.
Come on.
That's a conversation for another video. That's the conversation for another video. But yeah, so what did you think about what Gotti had to say, man? He's basically saying that he doesn't even know if he'll be able to find a relationship because women are always checking for his pockets. But he also coded some of his language, in my opinion. But I'll let you go ahead and kick that off.
Well, here's the thing. So we've talked about this before, like with the Drake topics and stuff like that. So he falls into that bucket of too well known to have a bag. So if you're walking around as Irv Gotti, everybody knows you got a bag. And if they don't know who you are because they are in their 20s, as he's talking about these 20-year-old, Boricuas. And so he's sitting around here talking about that. So they may not know who he is, but they're going to find out who he is. And as soon as they find out who he is, they're going to want that money. So he found himself in a boat where if he didn't have it in the beginning, he shouldn't expect this towards the end. And so I would tell him that in this world that he lives in, that he would have to find a new form of love. But this whole thing that she down for you 100% and all that other stuff, that takes a lot for a woman to get into that loyalty bag. They're not going off rip, be loyal to somebody, especially this later in life. So if y'all were young and y'all was coming up, then there's like a loyalty to see you want to win because they saw you grow up. But when you an old ass man, about to hit senior citizen discounts, they're not going to want to get into that because, quite frankly, how long you going to be around for this? So you want a 20-year-old to invest in you like that, bro? It's not really feasible. So that he has to find a new way of getting that affection that he wants, but it's sad when, I think that's the gift and a curse that comes with, being on famous and, well known. You're not going to have the stuff that, air quote, normal people have because, everybody know what you have. That's why you don't let everybody come to your house. And because you let any old body come to your house, you don't know who all these people are. And not everybody has the same agenda. And then, push come to shove, something wonky happened in your house. But where was it? Well, you let all these people up in your house. You let these people see what you have. Now they think you got it. So, but the thing is, that's for private, regular people. But for Irv Gotti, everybody know what he got up in his house. So you can't trust nobody that come up trying to say that, hey, I want to be your friend. Very sad stuff. But, hopefully he cries in his Ferrari. So what about you, man? How do you feel about this situation? How do you feel about Mr. Irv Gotti and his quest for love?
I do find this sad. And look, I got news for Gotti. A 26-year-old Boricua baddie can choose you who's in his 50s with a bag or a guy who's in his 20s with a bag.
Right.
You're already at a disadvantage. You're already at a position of disadvantage. They have the pick of the litter. It just is what it is. But the good news with that is, as a man, age isn't something that inhibits a man's viability when it comes to this kind of thing as much as a woman.
Right.
So that's where he does have an advantage. But overall, I'll just say I hear what he's saying, and I feel him, and I do think that it's a sad state of affairs because his point does, warrant merit. However, this reminds me of the topic that we did months and months ago, where there were these two black guys. They were on a video, and they were talking about how they decided to purposefully date interracially because they found it difficult to date black women because they found that black women did thug maxing. That was the term. That was the term that they used. Thug maxing.
Yeah.
Basically saying black women only want one kind of black guy. You gotta look this way, talk like this, dress like this, act kind of like a thug hood type guy, because those are the kinds of men that black women go for. And my retort to what they were saying was, I hear what you're saying, bro, but at the same time, have you truly diversified the way in which you're trying to meet black women? Because I can assure you that there are attractive, good-looking, in-shape black women who don't necessarily go for that. But if where you're trying to find black women is in places like clubs, bars, lounges, Essence Jazz Fest, NBA All-Star Week, Super Bowl weekend, you're gonna run into the scallywags and skeezers. Like and it's going to reinforce your belief that all black women are looking for the same thing, when you kind of have to diversify your bonds if you really do care about meeting attractive black women. Now, I'm someone who says, hey, bro, if you want to get out there and diversify, go ahead and diversify. I'm not trying to stop nobody from doing that. But you speaking in this manner tells me that this is something that you care about. So if it's something that you care about, have you truly exhausted all of your options, or have you been doing the same thing you've been doing your whole life and getting the same results?
Right.
That's insanity. You're doing the same thing repeatedly, but trying to get a different result. That's the literal definition of insanity. So I was saying, hey, bro, you want to meet attractive black women who might not be into that thug max and shit? Join a professional networking organization. If you went to college, join the local chapter of your school alumni association. You know what I'm saying? Get a part-time job where you work in a place where there are a lot of employees, like in the service industry, for example. These things may sound silly, but they put you physically in a position in which you increase or maximize your opportunity to really know whether all the black women in the world are thug maxing or not. Now, why do I bring that up when I look at this video about Gotti? It's like, Gotti, I hear what you're saying, bro, but are you really diversifying yourself enough? You got enough money, to me, that you could exhaust every resource available to you to meet good-looking, attractive women who might not come for your pockets first quarter the way you're describing that these other chicks do.
Exactly.
But if you sitting up there trying to DM Instagram models,
exactly.
If you sitting up there trying to DM OnlyFans chicks, if you trying to holler at the girl who was serving y'all bottles at the club the other night, you know what I'm saying? Like if you at Live or at the strip club and you trying to holler at the bartender or the bottle service girl or the shot girl, yeah, you're gonna get those results, bro. And then it's going to create this myopic tendency within you to perceive all of these attractive women as only wanting to come for your pockets. Now, again, I'm not trying to discredit his experience. I don't know what it's like to be a top 10%er. I'll take his word for it. However, I do think that I am in a reasonable enough position to ask, do you exhaust all of your options? Because if you're doing the same thing that your hip hop brethren do, which is hollering at the Instagram models and the OnlyFans chicks and the porn chicks and all of this other stuff, fitness models, social media influencers, socialites, women who work in clubs, bars, and lounges, yes, those are the results you're going to get.
Yep.
Period.
Every time.
And I don't care. And I don't care what anybody says. You can be rich as shit. You can be rich. I don't care. Okay, you can be rich. If you don't exclusively holler at women in those contexts, there's a decent chance that you're going to get a bit of a different result, period. So that would be the only contention that I have to what he has to say. Otherwise, I hear him and I get it. It's tough being a rich man out there. You don't know whether a woman actually is there for you or is there because of what you can do for her. A lot of these women do look to try and upgrade their lifestyle, so on and so forth. Yes, sir, that's true. But in the grand scheme of things, are you really diversifying your search? And if in your heart of hearts you can say, nah, I'm not really doing that. I'm a hip hop dude. I'm a hip hop, person. I'm just out here doing the hip hop thing. Then I'm gonna have to look at you and Irv and say, nah, bro, you're not doing enough. And that's why you get the bad results you get.
Yep. Bro, I was going to say that because it feels like that's what because that was an oddly specific demographic he just named.
Right.
It sounds like you're just filtering stuff out and seeing where the Dominicans at. That's not how this works, bro. Well, I mean, I'm me. See, this is his problem.
Yes.
He's using his cachet to get these women in the first place, and he's mad that they just want him for his cachet.
Right.
It's ridiculous. And I was gonna say, like, because I had to come up with like an analogy or a way to look at my dating habits when I was, just crashing out. I meet a girl here, I meet a girl there, and it's just not working. It's not working. shout out to any of my exes out there. But some of that stuff was like, what's going on out here? Like, this is terrible. But I realized where I was fishing at. I wasn't fishing in school. I wasn't fishing in college. That's crazy. I wasn't fishing in college classrooms. How goofy was I? I was fishing college students at the club. I was like, well, you're gonna get those club girls, drinking their trauma away, twerking on their friends and all this other stuff. And you think this is a party, bro? Granted, I wasn't trying to settle down. I'm just trying to, live my life, do my thing. But those weren't ideal situations. You can get into a relationship with a girl and it don't have to be so traumatic. You know what I'm saying? And these kids nowadays call it toxic.
Yeah.
So it don't have to be that way. But it was like, where are you fishing at, bro? Are these freshwater fish or saltwater? And so I had to realize that I needed to change where I got my, prey. So his whole thing is he wants to go on, like you said, social media devices, applications, and start sending out applications. So of course she's going to send you a 25 rack bill. Bro, that's the going rate. He was talking about the audacity for her to ask. No. It was the audacity for you to think it wasn't going to be that.
Yep.
Boy, you look like a clown. How you 53 and I know this?
Right.
What world do you live in, Mr. Gotti? So I don't understand why he's so confused. But I think that he has, like you said, that whole hip hop mentality of I'm gonna just surf the interwebs and then find me a baddie. All right, well, you're gonna have to pay for it. So just look at all of those girls, all of those thumbnails to each one of her little videos or whatever she's got popping on her page. Just look at that as individual price tags.
Mm-hmm.
And when you got all these girls that you're following and DMing, instead of seeing her name next to that avatar, look at the price tag like a sticker at a dealership. Don't get mad that this one asks for 25 racks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, bro. And no warranty on that either. No cash back guarantees.
Non-refundable
And non-negotiable. So, Mr. Gotti, I think you need to change where you fish, sir. Maybe then you can find yourself a woman who's been through stuff herself in life and looking for the same type of love you're looking for and looking to be loyal to a good man. But I'm telling you right now, she's not popping her ass on IG.
She's not.
So have at it, Mr. Gotti, because you're looking kind of simpish with all of these crying episodes on Drink Champs. Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And what do car dealerships do when there is a car that's in demand and you've had multiple people come to inquire about that car? They raise the price on it.
Thank you.
It's in demand, so the person who ends up getting that car is going to be the person who spent the most money for it.
Yep.
Okay. And these women who operate in these spaces are the same. They leverage the communication opportunities from men like Gotti in order to up their price tag. And the more men they got hollering at them, the higher the price gets. Yep. So if you are trying to meet women in that way, that's the result you're going to get. I got no sympathy for you, bro. You got to diversify your search, because if you're doing the hip hop thing and you're trying to holler at all of these strippers, sex workers, and all of this other stuff, what do you expect? That's on you. That's why I hear these guys talking like this, and it's just like, get out of here. And Drake does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I said, like, Drake romanticizes about it, because he ain't about that life. He talks about wanting to meet a loyal woman in his music, but he doesn't want that. He wants to slur it up. So, like, Gotti, it's like, bro, do you really want that, or are you just trying to just slur it up but make it seem like you're a nice guy? Because, like, no one's gonna think you're not a nice guy if you want to slur it up. People are gonna get it because of the lifestyle that you come from and probably still live. So just be honest with yourself. If you're really trying to do this, then do it, because it's possible, it's attainable. Just like with Drake, it's attainable. But like Drake, I suspect he ain't really want that. He's not really with that. I don't think so, because these guys, they keep doing the same thing over and over again, and then they talk about the quality of the women that they meet. Okay, well, how about you do things in the daytime, on terrestrial terrain, and get back to me with the results that you get after you've done that. Then we could talk.
Sad. It's sad all the way around. As I mentioned earlier, the whole dynamic of being known, it's a wild thing. And even if you try to do it hand to hand, you still might get that kind of treatment. So that's the crazy part. But for him to give such an oddly specific search, it's like he hit advance and then put a search in. So it's just like, bro, you're being too specific with this. I don't think it works that way. If you want that 20-year-old Dominican, how about you go to Dominican Republic or somewhere in the Bronx? And then try to find your situation like that, but stop scrolling on these apps, because that's going to lead you to disappointment and catfishing.
Correct. And not one who has 400,000, 500,000 followers on Instagram, because they're all the same.
Exactly,
they're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Do better, Gotti. Do better.
Unbelievable.
Braun, friend of the channel, LeBron James, friend of the channel. So Stephen A. Smith believes that LeBron owes a considerable part of his legacy to Dwayne Wade. We love Dwayne Wade. We talked about Dwayne Wade on the channel last week when we brought up Steph Curry as one of the greatest point guards of all time. So Stephen A. Smith, also a friend of the channel, recently discussed how he felt about the fact that LeBron James was not present for Dwayne Wade's Hall of Fame, enshrining. And so during an episode during one of the episodes of his show recently, Stephen A. talked about how, we think about LeBron as a, top whatever player ever, but hey, man, if it wasn't for Wade, where would LeBron be? So this is an interesting LeBron topic. LeBron is a hot button issue, as always. So we'll go ahead and talk about this real quick. It says, Stephen A. Smith says LeBron James' legacy would be nothing without Dwayne Wade. Another day, another hot take from Stephen A. Smith. Amid a week where Smith may have straight up broken the law, he took some time to drop a different basketball hot take. A lot has been made about LeBron's absence from Dwayne Wade's recent Hall of Fame enshrinement. Of course, the most likely reason for this is that James is continuing to care for his son, Bronny. Bronny is recovering from a cardiac arrest last month. However, myriad theories surrounding disrespect and beef have also emerged. It appears that Smith is one of those believers, as he tackled the issue head on during a recent episode of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Quote, LeBron James, one could easily argue, wouldn't even know what it's like to be a champion had it not been for Dwayne Wade, Smith said. Somebody needs to say it, so I'm going to say it. Smith's argument is based on the notion that LeBron didn't win his first championship until he linked with Wade in Miami. Of course, LeBron has won 2 other titles. He earned one with the Cavs in 2016 and another with the Lakers in 2020. However, Smith later clarified that LeBron remains his number 2 all-time NBA player behind MJ. Yeah, whatever. So, yeah, Stephen A. Smith, went hot taking on a show, saying that LeBron's legacy wouldn't be nearly what it was if it weren't for Dwayne Wade. LeBron is often thought of as, a lot of people think that he is the greatest player of all time. I think that that's ludicrous. But a lot of people think that he is even the second or third greatest player of all time, which I also believe is ludicrous. And Stephen A. Smith, as you saw in those comments, believes LeBron is the second greatest player ever. Again, ludicrous. But that his legacy would be nothing without Dwayne Wade. So do you agree with Stephen A. Smith that LeBron James's legacy as we know it is a bit suspect were it not for the influence of Flash, Dwayne Wade, the greatest Miami Heat player of all time?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a point. He's got a point there, but LeBron's still good. So he could have joined anybody, that off season. Not anybody, but there could have been a few teams that he could have joined along with another superstar like Bosh to win a championship. He could have done that outside of Wade, but he went to Miami and did it with Wade. So people are going to say that, but you could have said that anywhere he went, honestly. So, because this was going to be a talking point as soon as he left Cleveland and joined someone else. So he was going to win with someone else. So he picked Wade and Bosh and Ray Allen, right? So yeah, bro, we had a stick. You wasn't going to beat that. You know, on talent alone, on paper, we should have won all 4. So the mere fact that we only won 2 speaks to him. Yeah, I said this. So yeah, bro, we should have won all 4, hands down. That should have been like KD to Golden State. It was unfair. It was unfair. So we should have won every time, but we didn't. And I think that speaks to LeBron. But I think Stephen A, just giving a hot take, giving a talking point. But I honestly think that we would have been having this talking point regardless with anybody he joined, because, he just didn't do it in Cleveland, And one more thing, as far as he had mentioned something else. As far as what's that? Not D Wade. I can't remember right now. But what do you feel? How do you feel about this, man? Do you agree with Stephen A. Smith here? That LeBron is nothing without D Wade.
Yeah, I think whatever team LeBron would have went to, you could have just swap it out. So let's say LeBron instead. Let's say if they had figured out a way for LeBron to go to the Pacers, and the Pacers keep Paul George, and at the time they were, they had Paul George, they had Roy Hibbert, who wasn't a great player but a really good center back when
he was effective.
Yeah. They had all those guys out there. Jermaine O'Neal was there, still doing his thing. So let's just say that they would have figured out how to keep that core, but just add LeBron. The Pacers would have won. And I don't think anyone would have said that Paul George taught LeBron how to be a champion. The only reason why this rhetoric was even started was because Wade had already won one and they were friends. So it was a natural progression. Okay, well then let's create the narrative that Wade taught LeBron how to win. I don't think that they sat down at Starbucks one day and
Right.
Dwayne Wade was like, "Hey LeBron, let me teach you how to win a championship."
Right.
They just had a really good roster and they won because they had the best roster and it was the best constructed and they were coached well and LeBron's really good and so they won. Like, I don't think it was maybe he learned how to win via osmosis, but again, what is that really worth when I do believe that if he had gone to any other team that had a good roster in which they were able to keep the core, the result kind of would have been the same.
Mm-hmm.
He just chose the Heat because his friend was there. And they were able to get Bosh there too. And then the infrastructure of the Heat organization, that is a thing. But at the end of the day, a well-balanced roster with 3 superstars is going to win, even if the organization doesn't run as smoothly as the Heat organization does.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I hate the fact that it seems as though I'm being pro-LeBron in this instance, because I do think that his career, as quietly as it's kept, I think that his championship success is riddled with nuance that people don't bring up enough because people just want to bring up he won this and he did all this. But be that as it may, yeah, I think Stephen A. Smith just likes to do this weird thing where he double talks with LeBron. Like, it's weird. Stephen A. does this on First Take a lot, where a LeBron topic comes up and he takes the con LeBron side, but then he'll still clean himself up at the end by saying, I still have LeBron number 2 all time. It's
Right.
well, you just shuttered everything that you just talked about because at the end of the day, you still believe he's the second greatest player of all. Like, what do you I really don't know what Stephen A. Smith thinks about LeBron. I really don't, because he'll be the first one to take the anti-LeBron argument in most debates that they bring up on any of those shows that he's on, poking holes in his resume, bringing up said nuance oftentimes. When Draymond Green got suspended in the 2016 finals, He calls it an NBA stimulus package. You know, he basically insinuates that the victory is suspect because Draymond got suspended. So it's like, okay, he brings up stuff like this, but then he'll still turn around and, oh, LeBron is the second greatest player ever. So when it comes to LeBron, I feel like Stephen A. Smith kind of double talks himself. But in this instance, I think that this whole teaching LeBron how to win thing is overstated slightly. I think if you put LeBron on any team where they kept the core intact, the results would have largely been the same. Maybe they would have been better because maybe Paul George in his physical prime instead of Dwayne Wade would have been better at that time during the times where they lost those because maybe Paul George would have had the capability to step up in ways that Dwayne Wade couldn't when they lost to the Mavericks in 2011 and all that other stuff. I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just speaking in hypotheticals here. Just trying to make the claim that I think that whole narrative around what the Heat did in terms of teaching LeBron how to do this or that is a bit overstated. So if you want to by default say that his legacy wouldn't be what it is if it weren't for Dwayne Wade, you could do that because he played on the Heat with Dwayne Wade. So by default, you can make that claim.
Right.
But I would say that it was weak, lazy logic because that would have been the situation no matter what team he went to.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as the because I remember what I was going to say, but for him to say that he has him as the second greatest player of all time, but he's nothing without another man.
That's that he double talks, but I don't get Stephen A with LeBron. He double talks him.
He wouldn't because if he has Jordan as number one, which I know he does, then one would argue that Jordan was nothing without Pippen. But Stephen A will go, nope, Jordan's a winner regardless. So there's so many other basketball players. So for you to have him as number two and he was like a sidekick, basically, that don't make no damn sense. So yeah, that logic don't make no sense. But he double talks because, well, that's what swindlers do. So he's a shit sandwich guy. So he'll drag you through the mud, give you a compliment, and then drag your name through the mud one more time. And that's just how he rolls. And because that's how he plays, I'm neutral, or I'm not trying to tear you down. I really see your greatness, BS. So yeah, him double talking, yeah, that's all part of his shtick, man. He knows how to work the mental algorithms in his listeners.
Yeah.
The next thing I was going to say was that, yeah, to say that Wade taught LeBron how to win is absolutely ridiculous. Well, who taught Wade how to win? Well, those people were still running the organization when LeBron got there. So the Heat culture, I believe in it. I really think it's a real thing. They run their organization, one of the best, top down. All right. It's top 5 best run organization in the NBA. And it's been that way for at least the last decade or so. All right. Even more. So he got himself into a really good situation where they taught him how to be a pro. And so, hey man, all of these things matter. I already know you take care of your body, but we on it like this over here. And so there was so much stuff that he learned from an organization that is trying to win championships year after year. So he learned that from the Heat organization. Even then, when he was there, he was still trying to turn it out and fire Spoelstra and get his own rosters and do all this GM like he does everywhere he goes. But Pat Riley, part of the mafia is not having that. So that was where the dissonance was. That's why he jumped ship. But Pat Riley said it himself. He was upset that he left because this was literally a dynasty. He was like, we would have been winning for 10 years. We would have had so many rings. And he blew that by him being him, basically. Because from him jumping ship, he started losing more championships and, just winning at a 50% clip instead of having an organization behind you that will put the right pieces in place every year for you. It just didn't make any sense, but he had to do him and he had to do his own thing. So, ain't no shade, it's just who he is. But to say that he learned that from Wade, nah, I can't say that either. And again, that is a lazy talking point, and just inflaming Wade even more. But and I'm a big Wade fan.
Yeah,
but
me too.
But the whole conspiracy surrounding Wade and LeBron, I mean, these are two grown ass men. Who knows what they have going on? It was kind of weird that he didn't show up to his Hall of Fame thing. It wasn't like that wasn't going to create waves, but people want to get on LeBron for taking Bronny to see Drake. That's like, hey, first of all, his son just had a heart attack, and his son wants to go see Drake. I'm taking my son that just got out of the hospital to go see Drake. So I don't know what that was all about. So let him do. Who cares? So if they do have some type of internal strife, beef, or whatever, who knows? Let that blow over. But this is not going to stop. People are going to keep making rumors about him never showing up. This will always be a thing. And there's people birthday parties. My bad. You know what I'm saying, JV? I don't. I missed it. But you're like, all right, bro. But if you were getting inducted to the Hall of Fame, I would be there. So I don't know what LeBron. I don't know what LeBron doing. But anyway, man, too much. People need to make some type of conspiracy about something with him, but I'm not buying it.
Yeah, me neither. I actually gave LeBron a pass for that because I assumed that his son had something to do with his absence. Like
that's what I was saying.
His son went into cardiac arrest. It is what it is. Like whether you think he should have made a way to be there or not, that was a major life event that took place. I kind of gave LeBron a pass for that. Yep. LeBron is an interesting guy. I think that there's a tendency. See, I'm all the way 100 with it. I acknowledge his contribution to the game and I acknowledge his career overall, but I also I bring up the nuance in his career in order to poke holes in the notion that he is what others think, which is either the first or second greatest player of all time. It's only within that context that I do that. I call it the inner sanctum phenomenon. There's the room where you have the greatest players ever, but then there is a very small, tiny room within the room where you got like 2 or 3 people. And if you think LeBron is in that room within the room, then that room within the room is the place where you get to pick nits and make arguments that you might think are nitpicky and small, but there's only but so much to point at when you're dealing with that small of a difference between the greatest of the greatest of the greatest ever. And so if you think that LeBron is the greatest player of all time or number 2 or number 3, I'm going to poke those holes. I'm going to pick those nits because at that point he upholds the standard of being in the inner sanctum. It's as simple as that. And when it comes to Stephen A, I just think that Stephen A. Smith at this point, you call him a swindler. I just think that he is a king dingling. I think that he is a king dingling media gas bag. And I think that he, without conscious, to use one of his words, bloviates and just, puts hot takes into the ether to get a reaction and a rise out of people. I'm serious when I say I truly don't know what LeBron's true feeling I truly don't know what Stephen A. Smith's true feelings on LeBron is. I suspect this, and I don't know Stephen A. Smith, obviously, and Stephen A. will never cop to this publicly, but I personally suspect Stephen A. Smith does not actually believe LeBron is the second greatest player ever.
No, he does not.
In his heart of hearts, I don't think Stephen A. believes that. But I think that the LeBron media machine has bullied Stephen A. Smith into a corner as the king of the media mountaintop in such a way that he has to parrot such a belief. Yeah, LeBron is number 2 all time. I don't really think he thinks that. I don't. But I don't think that he at this point can say it without being perceived as somebody who loses all credibility. And Stephen A. Smith at this point in the game can't afford to lose credibility. So he has to say these things because when it comes to being in the mainstream media, you gotta be like LeBron is at the worst. You have to have LeBron as like the 3rd greatest player ever at worst, or else you have no credibility. And in this content game, in order for people to listen to you, click on your videos, in order for your ratings to stick and all of this good stuff, you have to be perceived as someone who has some credibility in some capacity. You know, as weird as it may seem, Cameron has entertainment credibility when it comes to the podcast game. Who was the other guy? Nori has entertainment credibility when it comes to the hip hop podcast game. When it comes to the sports media podcast game, Stephen A. Smith has gas bag entertainer, credibility.
Right.
And so you can't lose that by saying an outlandish thing like LeBron is not top 5. You gotta say that. But I think if you set Stephen A. Smith down and gave him a nice drink and had an honest conversation with him, I got a feeling Stephen A. Smith has a handful of guys he thinks are better than LeBron.
Oh, yeah.
But that's how the media game goes. Because if LeBron says that publicly, now you got to deal with LeBron's team who's mad at you, LeBron who's mad at you, other NBA players who ride for LeBron who are mad at you, other, acolytes in the media, Nick Wright, Shannon Sharp, who are going to be mad at you because they love LeBron so much. So you got to play the game. And I think that LeBron is just expertly playing the game. I mean, I keep saying LeBron. I think Stephen A. Smith is expertly playing the game.
Yeah, and I think that, and you're right. He just plays the media game, and he knows that hot takes is what sells. It's like punchlines and rap. Everybody wants a punchline. Everybody wants bars, right? So he just gives us hot take after hot take after hot take. But he's always flip-flopping because, well, you can't be authentic and always giving hot takes.
Yeah.
So a lot of these hot takes are full of sharp. And so, of course, that's why his rankings always flip-flop. So I remember before Kawhi really was sitting out in LA, before he was going to LA, he's the best player in the world.
Mm-hmm.
He's arguably number 2 next to LeBron James. Like, why are we doing this for Kawhi? Now, he's a baller. He's hooping right now. And he did do that with the Raptors. But let's be honest. Come on now. He's not the second best player in the NBA. But that's what they were saying. And, and it's always KD up here, but it's always flip-flopping. Now it's Steph Curry. Somebody hit 50 points, over the weekend. Oh, now Dame Lillard's the third best player in the NBA. I don't want to hear this. So no, he's not authentic. He's not genuine. And that's why you said, sit him down and have a drink and have an honest conversation. I think that is an oxymoron. I don't think honest conversation fits for Stephen A. Smith.
So Stephen A. Smith is going to give me media Stephen A. even in private.
Yeah, he's going to gas bag you there. He's just going to give you his serious voice. The one he does when he's so he seems sincere. That's full of shit too. I'm tired of him, but he plays a good character. He plays a good character, and he never breaks. So you gotta admire that if there's something to admire about this guy. But no, he's full of sharp, and he's gonna give you full sharp at that table because guess what you're gonna do? Hey man, I was just talking to Stephen A. Smith, and he said X, Y, Z. So he needs you to go out there and say LeBron's the best, the second best player, Steph Curry. And he wants you to go parrot that garbage, the same stuff that's on ESPN every morning. So I really don't think that Stephen A. Smith, I really don't think he has an off button. So that's what makes him so great at this. So because he doesn't have an off button. So I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that too. I've never bought that he truly thinks that LeBron is number 2 all time. I know he says it publicly, but I kind of don't buy. I don't think that he actually truly believes that. But I guess we'll never know. He does play the media game to proficient fashion, and that is why he does sit number 1. Soon to be. Stephen A. Smith with Shannon Sharp. Ironically, they got Shannon Sharp over there to that clown fiesta of a show. So, shouts out to Stephen A. Smith for the content. Don't know if Wade taught LeBron how to win or if LeBron owes Wade some of his legacy, but that's just more gas bag mumbo jumbo stuff. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. Okay, poor Noah Lyles. Now, I got to be honest. I didn't actually know who this kid was until this situation came up. So Noah Lyles is in he's what is he? He's a sprinter. I think he's an American sprinter, he's an Olympian. And he recently, after a race, gave speaking of hot takes, he gave a take that had him getting completely buried, crushed on the internet. NBA players came for his rack. Damian Lillard came for his rack. Kevin Durant came for his rack. Aaron Gordon came for his rack. Even Drake came for his rack. This guy's getting buried for saying that NBA champions are not quote unquote world champions. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about this because this guy is getting dragged for saying this. This kid is getting dragged for
He's a kid.
what I thought were just whatever comments. But here we go. Noah Lyles.
World champion of what? The United States? You know, the thing that hurts me the most is that I have to watch the NBA finals and they have world champion on their head. World champion of what? The United States? Don't get me wrong. I love the US at times, but that ain't the world. That is not the world. We are the world. We have almost every country out here fighting, thriving, putting on their flag to show that they are represented. There ain't no flags in the NBA.
Unbelievable.
So yeah, that little clip got him going viral in all the wrong ways. He is getting dragged for this. Dragged. If there is an equivalent of cancel culture when it comes to sports, I'd say this kid is experiencing this right now because he said this. So you know, they talked about this on the Levitard show. They talked about this on the radio yesterday. I was driving, listening. This thing is kind of everywhere with what this kid had to say. And yeah, he's definitely getting dragged for it. What do you think of what's going on with him in these comments?
I think, well, when I saw it first, I saw people defending him. So, and it was a lot of people agreeing with that too. So he's getting it both ways. I know one thing, that the media, though, they're letting him have it. The media and NBA players and NFL players too, they're letting him have it. And of course, regular people too. But I think that there's also a large group of people that agree with him. And to those people, I say, yes, technically he is correct. So if we want to be the technical police, then okay, fine. Then, you know, agree with this take. But to me, the NBA is its own entity. I mean, the points have been made. The NBA is its own entity. There's all kinds of international players. I don't know the percentage, but the best international players from the varying countries come play in the NBA. And there's a ton of them, and it's only increasing year over year. So it is more of a global brand. Now it's not how it was in the 80s and 90s where we were just slaughtering world competition. That's not really a thing anymore. So to say that, you know, the NBA is the best league in the world, which it is, you know, it's, you know, people can make an argument that, who knows, you know, if a championship NBA team played another championship team from another country, how would that play out? You know, that's not a dream team. That's just one roster in the NBA. So could they beat one of the best teams in another country? Who knows? But the point is, I think it's overblown. I think he was being a little too technical. He sounds like a young person, literally his voice, mannerisms, and everything. He sounds like Glover. He talks like Glover, you know, Donald Glover. You know, so he seems like a young kid. It seems like his life is all track. He sounds like, you know, that's his whole existence, literally. So, and he has to be, because he's really good too. So, I heard about him a couple years ago, and I'll watch his races every here and there. And the guy's good. He's fast as, you know, whatever. He breaks records. So he's no joke. He's no pushover out there. But for him to throw the NBA players under the bus like that, I know he was targeting the league, but the guys are out there too. So for him to throw those guys under the bus like that, I don't think he really thought that one through all the way. But what about you, man? How you feel about this Noah Lyles?
Yeah, I think that the people who are criticizing his comments need to sit their ass down. Now, I am in a position in which I have to defend him because of the backlash that he's getting. Now, if the backlash wasn't so strong, I'd be like, okay, you know, hey, bro, you say something like that, maybe somebody's gonna have a problem with that. You'll understand why, because of X, Y, and Z. But hey, we can move on. But the degree to which he is getting dragged, I am now fully in his corner and think that everyone who is criticizing him, including NBA players, need to shut the hell up. Okay, because he's right. The NBA is a domestic league. It's not a world league. So is it the best? See, what people are doing is they're conflating this kid's comments with the notion that the NBA is not the best league in the world. That's not what he said. What he said was, when you're an NBA champion, you're not a world champion. And that's correct. You're not. The NBA is a domestic league. It's not a world league. So if the NBA, if they were to create some sort of world tournament where the NBA championship roster competed against other countries for some sort of world medal or some shit, and the NBA roster won that tournament, that team would be a world champion. But you're not a world champion when you win in a domestic league. You're a champion of that league. So you're a champion of American basketball. You're a champion of North American basketball, if you want to take it that far, because you want to include Canada, fine. But you're not a world champion per se. It's not a world league. It's a domestic league. But people took it too far. They read too much into his comments. They took what he said as a shot across the bow against, the NBA, as if he was suggesting the NBA is not the best league in the world. These are two different thoughts here. The NBA is the best league in the world, but the winner of that domestic league isn't a world champion. So was it a bit technical? Sure, that's fine. But yeah, he was making a technical point. I don't think it warranted the backlash that it got. I don't. I don't think he was taking a shot at the NBA or its players. He wasn't. He was just saying, you're not a world champion. And he's coming at it from the standpoint of someone who competes in world athletics. He does the Olympics. He does world competitions. So, it is what it is. I just think people need to take a chill pill. They, by the way, they do a World Cup right now. They're doing the FIBA they're doing the FIBA right now. And the USA is kicking ass in FIBA. Anthony Edwards out there just running around, out athleting everybody, being the best player on the team, for anybody who's keeping up with that. Inevitably, I believe the USA will win that. The team USA will be a world champion. This is not a complicated concept, but these sensitive ass NBA players and the rest of these people in the media took it there because of who he is. His name has no cachet. So I feel like if someone with more credibility or cachet had said this, probably wouldn't have been as much backlash. But because he is a relatively lesser known, Team USA athlete, he doesn't necessarily carry enough gravitas with his opinion to be considered credible. And so that contributed to why it was appropriate for him to incur the backlash that it did. But do I think that he was wrong in what he said? No, I don't. The NBA is a domestic league, but it's an international league, but it's a domestic one. It's a domestic one. It just is. Whether you like it or not, those are the facts. So if, all he was saying was, an NBA champion is not a world champion. I always thought that it was a little sus that they used to call the winner of the NBA finals, NBA world champions. That's kind of weird to me because it's not a world league, from the standpoint that you do not have other countries as a whole represented within the umbrella of the NBA. All of those international players are independent contractors, just like the rest of the NBA players. When it comes to the NBA, they're not representing other countries. They're representing themselves and the NBA team that they play for, which is a domestic team. So I kind of think that it was a bit heavy-handed. Leave the kid alone.
I hear your point, but my point is that it was his tone and his delivery to other professionals, which was the problem. He's making it seem as though he's greater than NBA players. And the NBA players is like, bro, why you got to make us an example in order for you, whatever. Like it was very egotistical and narrow-minded is my point. Yes, he's technically correct. But how far are we going to go with being technically correct with things? So, I mean, you can go down the list. Well, I mean, in baseball, we call it the World Series. Well, it's not. There's other baseball teams, other places. But when you have a corporation called the NBA, MLB, and NFL, you can name your branding within your company, whatever the hell you want. So I can call it World Champions if I want to. It's just the Big Three championship. You can get 3 on teams anywhere. Yeah, but this is my corporation, and I'm going to call these guys world champions. So why are you going to sit here and throw something that's so trivial like that? Because everybody knew that already, but it was so trivial, no one brought it up. But he brings it up on a world stage after he finished winning to say, I'm a real champion, and these guys aren't. That's what it comes off as to those players. So that's why they were a little sensitive around the collar. Now, when you talk about the media attacking this, well, the media is USA America, and you got to back up America at all costs. So, and you also got to back up your brands, the NFL, NBA, and stuff like that, and vouch for them and be front people, shields, what they call them. So, of course, these guys are really digging into them. So now that explains the NBA players, the NBA, NFL, and the media people. So my point was that I do agree with him. But my point was that it's so technical. So let's just go down the line. Now, the letter W, it's not 2 double U's. It's double V's. So why don't we call it double V? Nobody's going to ask that. We roll on with it and we just go about our business because who cares? So my point was, who cares? So which side am I on? I'm on neither side because I see it from all sides. But I do think that his level of maturity is what led to him saying this in such a loose fashion to be misinterpreted. So technically, he is correct. But technical police, they find themselves in a lot of conversations that they technically don't need to be in. So I feel like it was poor judgment on his end. I do feel like the people that are dragging him through the mud have ulterior motives, and I just stated them. So it is a little heavy-handed, unnecessary. But at the same time, I do feel as though as being a star and well-known as he is now, he needs to know how to carry himself because LeBron would never throw another group of athletes under the bus for, whatever, because, brand of NBA. Now, he'll throw under, other NBA teams under the bus and, he'll do his own little whatever. But when it comes to like, other athletes, other sports, and he's an ambassador for everything, So I just think that he should learn a little bit more discretion while he's up there on his panel and not make himself seem better than other athletes. So,
yeah, I didn't read it that way. That's fine. He singled out the NBA specifically because that's the only domestic league with which they do that. The Super Bowl winner isn't called World Champions.
MLB World Series.
It's called the World Series, but they don't really use it it's not really prevalent when they call the winner of the World Series World Champions. So I think he singled that out because they do that in the NBA more than any other sport. And then also, I don't know if he volunteered this commentary or if he was asked a question and then he just expounded on the question. Because if he was sitting up there doing his thing and they asked him something and then he responded, then to me, I think all of this is completely ridiculous. Like, he's entitled to the opinion that he has about how he perceives the invocation of the word world when it comes to sports. And if he was asked a question and he answered it based on how he feels, it is what it is. Now, if he just sat up there and he just started being like, and he just went in on his diatribe, like, this is how I feel about world champion, then okay, maybe I can see where you're coming from. But if he was just answering a question, I kind of feel like this is unnecessary. But again, I don't know that that's the case. Pretty much all I've seen on the interwebs is this particular snippet that we played. And I just kind of think that people are being hypersensitive and using this as a launch pad to go at this kid for coming after the NBA. And there's a tint of, I think you're right. And I think that the players felt like he was trying to suggest that their championship merit is somehow diluted because they're not actually a world champion. So I can understand that. That's fine. And if I would disagree, I think that they need to calm down. I don't think that's what the kid meant. And I think that they understand that. But people get on the phone and they just love to make stuff viral and go after people on social media. So I understand that that's the way the world is. Outside of the players, there's a hint of nationalism with respect to how he's being treated in the media. And that, to me, I just think is goofy.
Yeah, I agree. I think the media was very aggressive with him. I agree with that.
Yeah, that was just silly. Y'all know what this kid meant. Like, come on, man. That's some of that stuff where it's like, y'all know what this person's talking about. You just choose to just feast on it. Like, where's the beef anyway? Because we're in the world of just the need for content and attention at all times. Yeah, it's blasting this jit for nothing. Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh man, Undisputed has a new format. Well, not a new format, but they've got new contributors.
That's right.
So Shannon Sharp is out, and in, I guess, is Richard Sherman, Michael Irvin, and Keyshawn Johnson. These networks just trade people off. ESPN gets rid of people, they go to Fox. Fox gets rid of somebody, they go to ESPN. It's ridiculous. But much is being made about the new look of Undisputed. The show went on hiatus for a couple months after Shannon Sharp left while they figured out what they were going to do. And so it was revealed that this was the new format, at least for now. And so there's a lot of reaction to what the new look Undisputed looks like, right? So we'll go ahead and share thus far what is making waves from the first episode of the new look Undisputed, which aired on August 28th. And this features, the aforementioned individuals here. So we'll go ahead and give our reactions to the new look Undisputed.
Morph into this number one receiver.
Yeah, absolutely.
Early on, CD had some drops. I'm not, and some balls went through his hands, and some balls went through his hands, and they turned up interception. Some balls went through a lot of those receivers' hands, get turned up interception, and everybody put it on that, but the ball was dropping on people's hands. Early on, as CD was converting, and you guys know this. I talked to CD about us to see, hey man, you're the number one receiver now. Everybody's going to be around you all the time. There is no you gonna be.
You got to run the right route.
So right. And what he was trying to do with everybody around him, he was still trying to catch balls in his hands. And there's a natural defense mechanism within the body to protect you when people are around you. If I squeeze my hand, you're gonna blink your eye naturally. So now he's trying to catch it. I said, wait, let me finish. I told him, I said, listen, with all these people around you, learn to catch this ball in your body. Right. So in your hands, you tighten up, ball goes through you. Or you tighten up, ball hits the ground.
That's the worst advice I've ever heard for a receiver. Don't catch it with your hands, catch it with your body.
How you gonna tell me that's the worst advice? I'm only one of the best to ever do it at playing that
what
game.
I'm saying is,
I don't know how you can tell
say
me
catch it with your body and not your hands.
It led to championships on every level. What I'm talking about doing, I won championships on every level doing. I don't know how you're going to say that's bad advice.
You don't say
how is that bad advice?
Because if you're telling kids to catch with their body and not their hands. Sure, you got to listen to what he's saying. One second. No.
Thank
I understand what he's saying.
Thank you.
But what I'm saying, I play quarter. If you catching it in your body, you bringing it that close and I'm on your back, I'm getting that out of there. Every single time. I'm getting that out of there. You're not bringing it in your body. Catch it with your hands out here. But what I'm saying is, y'all are making excuses saying a professional, 12 games.
I'm telling you.
He played 12 games.
No, we're letting you, we're trying.
Y'all are making excuses. Y'all just said it was CD. No, y'all just said it was CD.
What a mess. And it's kind of like, it's like the guys in like lunch and in PE just banging on the table talking about sports. The loudest person wins. I mean, and Michael Irvin. Whoa. I mean, listen, I love Michael Irvin. Hurricanes fan. He's a Hurricane representative all day long. So I love him. Back in the Cowboy days, I was a big Cowboy fan. I love Michael Irvin. And, as a person on TV, he can get a little out of pocket. And I feel secondhand embarrassment sometimes when he do wild stuff. And in this situation, I was like, all right, because I was like, okay, Michael, just don't embarrass us this time. And, he goes up there and act like he's still on that booger sugar. Like he's still on that pod. And so he's standing up like, I'm telling them, and then for them to be like, bruh, so sit down, like Skip said to Shannon, put your glasses back on. I feel like telling him to sit his ass down. Skip Bayless looked embarrassed. He looked like he was like, no, I did not bring the loudest Negroes from the cookout to my all prestigious dinner. Yes, you did, bro. Yes, you brought 3 Negroes up there. Them boys do not behave. And yes, Richard Sherman does have himself a degree from Stanford, high GPA from what I hear. He is still a Negro in the street. So he got himself the 3 loudest people at the cookout trying to have himself a civilized debate. Not going to happen. So hopefully, I think this was just the first episode where they had this madness going on. They wanted to introduce the cast. So hopefully it's more of a one-on-one type of situation where they can have a more civilized conversation. But from every clip that I saw from this, it looked like an unmitigated disaster. So how about you, man? How do you feel about the new Undisputed?
It looks a little rough. Skip Bayless looks like he bit off a little more than he can chew.
I think so.
There's another clip that I saw. I think he was either on World Star or YouTube. I forget, where they're running up against the end of the segment. And Skip Bayless chimes in. He's like, well, I'm not going to get to make my full point. We're going to have to go to break because you guys talk too much. Mm-hmm. I think Skip Bayless was measured in his frustration over the way that the show went. And maybe it will get smoothed over, but I will say this. I tuned in a little bit of that today, and it was still all 4 of them on there today. So I don't know if that's a permanent thing or not.
Oh, man.
I don't know if that's a permanent thing or not. I hope it isn't, because they need to get that part figured out. 4 is too many.
Yeah.
3 is too many. You only need 2.
Yeah.
You just get the second guy, and then the third guy can be there as a guest from time to time or from one segment to another to be a guest contributor. But otherwise, the show is just 2 people. That's it. 4 is way too many, and 3 is too many. Mm-hmm. Especially when you have, it's saying something when Skip Bayless you look at on any given panel as the person who's going to do the least amount of the talking.
That's crazy.
That's saying something.
Yep, it is.
Because when Skip and Stephen A were together on First Take, Skip would routinely overtalk Stephen A. Smith, which is saying something because Stephen A. Smith never shuts up and he overtalks the hell out of people. So it's fascinating to watch this happen in real time, because I can remember whenever Keyshawn was on First Take, I used to think to myself, Keyshawn, stop interrupting people. Do your, say what you got to say and then let other people chime in. Keyshawn interrupts people and talks a lot. Michael Irvin interrupts people and talks a lot. Richard Sherman interrupts people and talks a lot. And then you got Skip Bayless, who basically invented the medium, sitting there looking at his essentially what Skip Bayless is witnessing are the fruits of his labor. Skip Bayless is looking at 4 of his love children because he birthed this whole thing. If you want to be honest, going all the way back to 2004, this is a monster that Skip Bayless created. So it is what it is. I've never been as big a hater of Skip Bayless as most people. I don't think that outside of when he is irrationally being anti-LeBron or Aaron Rodgers, because they're two people who are routinely juxtaposed to his two favorite love crushes in the world, Tom Brady and Michael Jordan. So whenever it was a LeBron or Aaron Rodgers thing, it was always anti-LeBron and anti-Aaron Rodgers, because he has to try and do his part to uphold the pristineness of the image of Tom Brady and Michael Jordan. So outside of Aaron Rodgers and LeBron topics, I always felt like Skip Bayless used to say pretty salient things that made sense, but he would get kind of swept up within this whole narrative of Skip Bayless being a hater. I don't really think he's that huge of a hater, unless you love LeBron. Then of course you think he's a huge hater, because if you love LeBron, anybody who says anything against LeBron, you look at as a hater. But Skip Bayless invented this thing, and so yeah, bro, he's gonna have to fix it. But if the first 2 days are any indication, it's not as good as what it was when Shannon was there. And maybe they'll work the kinks out, but this thing is looking like he basically is going to gift Stephen A. Smith with an all-out victory here if it remains in its current format, especially if Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp hit it off and that chemistry works. Because if it does and this situation stays the same, I can very easily see them trimming some of this fat and getting rid of two of those guys. I remember when it was announced that the permanent co-host was going to be Sherman. I thought it was going to be Skip and Sherman. And then I tune in and I see all four of them on there. It's too much. It's too much loudness, too much talking, too much people interrupting each other and over talking. It's way too much. Even if you had a panel with four people who didn't overtalk one another and were more civil in terms of how they did their job, it would still be too much, because four people is just too much. But you got four people on there and it's them four? Nah, they're going to have to fix that. They're going to have to fix that real quick, or, Skip Bayless is going to get, sent to an early retirement. Right now, that show is just too much. It's unwatchable in its current format. And they need to get rid of two of those guys. Which two, I don't know, but two of them got to go.
Yeah, and I'll say that for Skip, I think, because I agree with you, I do see why people don't like him, but I agree with you in the context of, outside of his LeBron takes and his stuff that he's obviously being a troll, outside of that type of stuff, he really doesn't offend me as much with his takes. But much like how for body positivity, slut shaming, we have athlete positivity, where you can't shame an athlete. Hey, you're making this personal. It's like, nah, bro, he just said you trash with that jumper. You never made it to the league. Yeah, I understand that. But based upon your level of competition, you suck at shooting jumpers. So why can't I call that out? But now player positivity is this thing where now people that never played the game can't make a critique. Why am I watching this if I can't critique you, bro? Right, so this whole whatever is a lack of accountability. Negro, get better. If you getting stripped, enhance your dribble. If your shot ain't working, fix it. If your free throws off, fix that. If you're not good at defense and you play Olay, tighten up. I can call that out because, hey, I'm vested in this. And by the way, you're playing a professional sport where everybody in the Coliseum can make their judgments. You chose to do that. That's the trade-off for hundreds of millions of dollars. So these guys out here that keep slandering Skip Bayless, oh, he this, and this. That's because these guys are the new version of sensitive people.
Yes.
And so that's even the big testosterone athletes out here crying like body positivity Lizzo people. So I never understood it, but that's what these clowns getting here doing. Hey, you got a Twitter handle, clap back like your name is KD, if that's how you feel about this stuff. But stop crying and stop calling. Hey, man, get on your own platform and talk your noise. But yeah, man, I can't stand that player positivity garbage. There is a line to be drawn, but Skip, he draws the line at entertainment, and I left it there, and the other athletes should leave it there too. But be that as it may, I still think he's a scumbag behind closed doors, because interpersonally, there's too many reports of him just being as shardy as he treated Shannon on air. So that's the reason. It's not, I can't prove it, but that's the reason why there's something in Skip that I go, yeah, I don't jive with you all the way. So I don't know why Dwayne Carter want to chill with you, bro. I don't know.
It's weird.
It's weird.
Yeah, I hear it. I still want that show to be successful because ESPN does not deserve to be king of the mountaintop.
No.
With some of the way that they run their operations, and a monopoly is never a good thing for any industry. So you always need competition. And ESPN is still linear television, so they don't necessarily compete outright with the podcasters and all of that. So when it comes to linear television, you need an Undisputed and all of the rest of those shows on FS1 to compete with the likes of First Take and everything that ESPN has going on. I just think that they need to fix it. They've got too many hosts, and they've got too many of those hosts who don't do gas bagging the right way. They all overtalk. They all have a propensity for interrupting you when you talk while you're speaking. All of them. Keyshawn is bad at it. Yeah, like Keyshawn is horrible. Sherman sucks at it. They all do it. They all do this thing where they'll just cut you off. They'll interrupt you and overtalk you. And then when they overtalk you, they take the rest of the airtime talking and talking and talking and talking. So they need to trim some of that fat and get rid of those people. In my opinion, I would say keep Sherman and get rid of the other two. If for no other reason than I've seen enough of those other two guys. They've got enough going on. Sherman is the newest guy in the game, so give him a shot and let's see where that takes it. Let's see where he takes it because he's new, and so I think he deserves his opportunity. And you know, I've seen enough of Michael Irvin, and I've definitely seen enough of Keyshawn. Get those guys out of here. Get them out of here. If I had to choose between Irvin and Keyshawn, I'm gonna go with Irvin because Irvin will make me laugh.
Right.
Whereas
right.
I just find myself with Keyshawn saying, "Bro, stop talking."
Bro, I'm gonna just say this, bro. That's uniform. I haven't met one person that vouches for Keyshawn Johnson, myself included. I can't stand it. And I agree. At least with Michael Irvin, I'm gonna get some laughs.
Yeah.
Now he is that guy at the cookout, you know, who's just chucking and jiving. He is a ball of entertainment. So I get that angle, but if I want a real sports debate, you're not going to get that from Michael Irvin. You're just not.
No. Yeah.
So,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. Good luck, Skip, man. Good luck. Hopefully, allegedly, Skip has a lot of influence and sway behind what happens with the production of that show. And so I think that if he's as smart as I think he is when it comes to the media stuff, he sees what changes need to be made and they'll trim some of that fat. But they need to trim some of that fat for real.
Agreed.
Whoo, boy, this friend of the channel here,
Brittany.
real quick.
Yeah.
It would appear as though Brittany Renner is becoming unhinged.
Yes. She lost.
So, Brittany Renner was recently on the Danza Project show. Charleston White was a guest on this show, and Brittany Renner took it upon herself to. Well, we'll just go ahead and play the clip, and then we'll talk about it. I'll let it speak. I'll let it speak for itself.
Oh my goodness. Lord have mercy.
To my guest. Where that pig poker at, man? Go ahead and get the pig poker.
That's like a self-edit we got going on down there. Did she just throw a drink in that man face?
Yeah, she has this thing.
Oh, what's she doing?
Miss Renner.
Oh, I only knew about the twerking. I didn't know she throwing drinks.
It's like Rolling Loud all over again. She like throwing water on people.
What part of the dialogue is this? What part of the show is this? She just doing this? Look at that self-edit in the corner down there. Yeah. Censored. Whoa.
Can I get some motherfucking music?
Oh, so she was doing that a cappella, no music.
What this bitch Brittany running off of?
Oh man.
Yo, yeah.
I could see why people fall for that.
Brittany Renner goes viral even when she's trying to be conscious. So you can imagine how viral she goes when she is thoughting it up.
Yeah, for sure.
This is wild. So yeah. Now before we went on air, I asked you whether you thought that this was a bit, and you said, yeah, you think that this is a bit.
Yes, totally.
But yeah, people are talking about this, and it looks like it's unhinged to me. But you think it's a bit.
It's both. I think it's both. So I think she is unhinged because she looked intoxicated from the clips that I saw. She was on something. She was on one for sure. So she had something going on. So she was like, and she is unhinged from the perspective of all of that wholesome talk she was trying to give us for the last year and a half. So she I don't know what this is, but this is nothing like where she was when she was doing that campaign. So this seems like, hey, good old Brittany, life of the party. That's what this looks like here. So it looks like she's unhinged from that perspective. But I do think that this is all, let's go viral, because she's dealing with let's go viral Charleston White. So if you're not familiar with Charleston White, whenever he does anything, podcasts, live streams, he does anything, his objective is to be as ridiculous as possible while still trying to get his point across. So part of him being ridiculous is even staging beefs, pulling out knives, staging anything, just so it can get viral clicks and views. That's what he does. So behind closed doors, he say, hey, let's do this. It's not like thoroughly planned out where it's a script, it's ad lib. And they say, hey, we're going to do this during the show. That's what's going to pump it up. That's what Charleston White does. So in this situation, I do feel like it was planned to a degree where it's like, hey, let's do something, whatever. And so Brittany, being the sportsman that she is, she definitely was going to take this up on this offer because she wants to go viral just like the next person. So I saw this as an opportunity for both of these viral people who know how to use internet algorithms, know how to use, going viral clips and stuff, TikToks and Instagrams and YouTube shorts. All right. So they know how to use that type of stuff. So why not go viral and have ourselves a viral moment? And if there's any type of kickback that comes back from these shows, why not run up the view count? So that's why I feel like this was all a put on. But nevertheless, she is unhinged in the perspective that she just threw all of her I'm a real wife out the window as you're straddling the thighs and the penile of a man who already has a woman. All right. So how about you, sir? How do you feel about Miss Brittany Renner's latest attempt at going viral?
Yeah, I think that that's the real her. It's funny when back in like 2015, 2014, 2015-ish, when I first learned who she was, she would routinely be on Twitter engaging with people and answering questions that people asked. And she used to pull that wholesome card back then, suggesting that she isn't an industry chick. She doesn't need to be with a rapper or a baller. She'll be with a regular guy. As long as you have the values that she seeks, it's all fair game. But see, this was before Brittany Renner became the Brittany Renner. This was back when she was still trying to be a fitness model influencer, showing up in malls and doing, orchestrated fitness instruction classes that you signed up for. She was actually trying to carve a niche for herself as somebody in the fitness space. And I think now she's just a full-on social media personality, essentially. I don't know what else you describe.
Vagabond.
Yeah, sure. And so you're in order for you to do this thing where you basically become the newest incarnation of Amber Rose and proudly embrace your purposeful decision to, sleep with various assorted men in the sports and entertainment industries, and then you write a book about it, one can surmise that you already have a degree of soullessness about you. So if you're soulless enough to do that, then I would agree that you are also soulless enough to agree to doing anything on a podcast that would be consumed with a hint of virility. So I agree with you there. That was going to be my central point. It isn't necessarily that she's unhinged per se, but unhinged from the standpoint that her level of tolerance for things that she will agree to in order to be on and popping is very low. She'll do whatever not whatever. But there's a lot that she was willing to do, like this, for example.
We got time, bro. She'll do whatever.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that she'll do like this in order to be, on and popping. And I think it's totally possible that she, behind the scenes, might have discussed doing some sort of bit like this with White before they actually got onto the show. I do think that that's possible. But the thing with it is, there's a hint of soullessness inherent in her enough that she is willing to do a great many things in order to garner the currency of attention that she seeks. And the currency of attention oftentimes can be converted into actual physical currency because that's the world that we live in. And, the only thing that I'll say is there's a fine line between this and what we saw happen with Britney Spears when she shaved her head off, or what we saw with Michael Jackson when, he was doing his molestation trial and, he'd be over and, that day, the trial day will be over and there's a whole bunch of people waiting outside the building. And so he jumps on top of a car and starts doing dance moves after the trial, just completely lost his mind. There's stuff like that, that was preceded by a hint of soullessness. So don't be shocked if in the near future we see Brittany Renner doing other things that traverse even further down the rabbit hole of soullessness.
Yep. She on the way. She on the way.
Oh, but so long as she continues to do it and provides us with the content that we need in order to do what we do on this channel, then so be it. And from that standpoint, we thank you, Brittany Renner, who is also a friend of the channel.
That's right.
Oh, man. And with that, we will do it with tonight's stream. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. This was good stuff. Great content as always. My name is JV Wins. That, of course, is Dogon SS. Thank you for joining us on another edition of the Conscious Approach channel on YouTube. Feel free to check us out on the Instagram page at Conapproach, CONAPPROACH. You can also find me on Instagram at JVWins, JVWINS. If you happen to be watching this video on the Meta page, go ahead and like and follow the page. And whenever you're watching this video, or wherever, rather, you are watching this video, go ahead and comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think. Let us know where you think we went right, wrong. Let us know if we crazy for what we got to say. It's all good. It's all love. We certainly appreciate the support. And until next time, continue to support that logical content. And all fellas, y'all need to remember to write down your life mission statement and have yourself something to wake you up in the morning to keep you going. Things that you are not willing to compromise things for. So
that's right. And the name is Dogon SS. You can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS and on YouTube at Dogon SS and Hurricane Dogon. Goddamn. And as I say on every pod, guys, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it player, and don't let anybody get you off your pivot. So until the next time, guys, we'll catch y'all on the flip flop. Screw, screw.
Yes, sir. Another Conscious Approach video in the books. We certainly appreciate you for tuning in. Until next time, we out of there. Peace. Go Heat. Go Dolphins.
Conscious Approach.
Go Seminoles. Go Conscious Approach.
Yeah.
We out.